Let me quickly make this very clear because I did a video the other day talking about the origin of the people from ANIOMA, that these are actually people who have their origin from Igbo, and some people are asking series of questions. So were even asking me I should bring some evidence. But let me even make this point very clear. Just as you have 4 market days in Enugu, Anambra, Imo, Ebonyi, Abia, the same is applicable to Delta North in Delta State. Even in my own local government, in one jurisdiction, Agbor, we have it as Nkwo, Eke, Ori, Afo. And even my own village, as I speak, their market day is Nkwo. And if you even go deeper, you understand that if you are looking at, like, the name Nwankwo is derived from that Nkwo, the same thing is applicable to my place, because if somebody is being given birth to on Nkwo day, the person can be named Nwankwo, meaning a child that was given birth to on Nkwo day. And the same thing is applicable to any other part of the 5 states in the eastern part of the country. So you can go on and on, even when it comes to do with the culture of the people, when it comes to do with some names, like you can say Chukuma. You can say, yes, like Chukuma, for instance, you see it in any other part of the eastern states, southeastern states, you see it in one part, and it means exactly the same thing. So there are so many, and the issue of Igbo origin in Delta do not even stop in Delta. We saw some people from Edo State, market to be precise, the other time raising issue about the Agbor of Benin trying to force them to accept that they are from Benin and that they are Benin people. And from childhood, I know Ibake as having the same language and everything with people from Agbor, for instance, and their own kingship, according to them, though I actually know that fact, is easy. There's not like Enoge, as Oba was trying to force on them. And it has been like that from time immemorial. These are people who the creation of state unfortunately forced into Edo State. That is why each time we look at this issue of the service to mankind by Nigerian states, you begin to wonder. Because in the then days when you had Eastern region, nobody was talking about whether this one is from East or not. But because the government, after the war, wanted to fragment the Eastern states, they started creating states to give people a different ideology. I'll come to the issue of South-South, talking about the seed regions. But before I go into that, you understand that even after the issue of Aburi Accord, the same Gowon that refused to allow Aburi to fester, to allow Aburi Accord to stand, to solve the Nigerian problem, came back to create additional 12 states. And the whole essence of creating 12 states is to even deplete the influence and the influence of the Southeast. Because by the time you now create states, you start giving them a different ideology, people start seeing themselves differently from what they used to be. They start giving themselves a different origin. You begin to wonder. Even the issue of South-South, it was actually created by Abacha's government. And before the creation of South-South, there was nothing like South-South. The people of that region, everybody knew they are from the eastern part of Nigeria. But as you created South-South, you go and meet some people currently, they tell you, I'm from South-South. And you need to ask questions, they will not be able to answer, because in the inception of creation, there was nothing like South-South. South-South never existed. It is just purely political creation to give people a different identity and to deplete the population, the influence of the Eastern region. Then again, all effort for people to even address all of this has always been resisted by the Nigerian state. And you begin to wonder how some people who do not even have history to latch onto will still continue to maintain what they believe in without having any trace to how they came about it. I see some people from Ikwere who purely go by the name of Igbo language. If somebody answering Chere from Ikwere, he will tell you he's answering Ikwere name. You begin to wonder, how can you say you are answering Ikwere name where you can clearly hear somebody speaking or answering an Igbo name? You can even see somebody who speaks Igbo from Ikwere will be telling you, no, he's not an Igbo man. So I think the whole issue of the idea of fragmenting the region is purely, carefully orchestrated by the government to deplete the eastern region, particularly after seeing how the Biafrans festered during the Civil War. Because if not for the effort of foreign aids who came to the aid of Nigeria, Nigeria would have found it very difficult to have their feet in that war. And we have seen the likes of Aniocha, who has made it very clear that his self-determination and he wants Biafra sovereign state. And it's very clear because there is no law barring somebody from going for self-determination. Self-determination is a right, both locally and internationally. You cannot charge somebody to court because he's talking about self-determination. I think that was explain the reason. If you go through all the charges preferred against Mazen Aniocha, you will not see anything that has to do with self-determination, because the federal government of Nigeria knows that self-determination is a right. The UN Charter that the Nigerian government willingly subscribed to made self-determination a right. Hence, the Nigerian government already subscribed to that UN Charter that talks about self-determination. It means in Nigerian legal jurisprudence, self-determination is already a right. And again, if Nigerian state had allowed Aburi to stand, by now nobody will be talking about self-determination, nobody will be talking about secession, because all the problems the current Nigerian state is seeking to solve was already solved by Aburi Accord. For instance, the issue of state police was already resolved by Agbor Accord because it was contained that each region will have their own separate police. However, that does not deter or stop federal government from having a federal police. The issue of the centralization of the military was equally already contained in the Agbor Accord. So for me, the issue of insecurity we're having currently that is occasioned by the essence of Fulani military would have been dealt with at that level. And many years after the Civil War, you understand that those problems are still plaguing us and we are still finding a way to resolve it. Anytime somebody talk about secession, the next thing you hear is the government start hounding, arresting, intimidating, and prosecuting. Even the Britain that even came here to do all of this have not even seen a reason to encourage the Nigerian government to allow people go their separate ways. Because the other time, when British needed to exit the European Union, we understand that there were some people who were against it. Actually, in any society, that is what it should be. There are people who were for it. But the important thing is that nobody was hounded, nobody was intimidated, nobody was arrested, nobody was prosecuted. At the end of the day, minority had their say and majority had their way. And as we speak, the Britain have already exited the European Union, and that is it. So in a civilized manner, in a civilized way, in a civilized society, that is what it's supposed to be. So if in the event that some people are saying they want to exit Nigeria, I think the best bet Britain, European Union, UN could do is to ask Nigeria to prepare and they come here to supervise it. If at the end of the day, Nigerian government canvass opinion for people not to secede and they have a superior opinion and the people buy into their own ideology and there's a referendum and people vote against seceding from Nigeria, I think that would have put to rest everybody talking about secession. I think for me, that is the way to go, because that is the only way to shame anyone who is talking about secession. Because if you go about referendum and people vote against it, decide to remain in Nigeria, tomorrow nobody will rise and say, we want our sovereign state. Because they know that when they go to the pool, they will lose out. But to say it should not be discussed, to say people should remain perpetually like this, where a situation where government is finding it difficult to protect the people, for me, it's a disservice to mankind. We have seen what is happening in Zamfara State, a situation where the last of Toji Bello, talking about the notorious bandit leader, celebrated burning that military vehicle the other time. And as we speak, even though the military has said they are closing in on him, that is a working corpse, he's not yet on record that has been arrested or is under prosecution. We even saw what happened recently in some part of Zamfara and Katsina State, where a notorious bandit leader, Ado Aleru, who have a bounty of 5 million on his head, held meeting with the governors of Zamfara and Katsina, even in the presence and full glare of security agencies. You begin to wonder what type of country are we running? If a bandit leader who have a bounty of 5 million on his head can be having meeting with state governors, for me, that is the highest level of affront. We have seen in the past where a 27-year-old Philip Wanton, United States of America citizen, was kidnapped in Niger, taken to Sokoto State. How American Navy SEALs will come here, rescue him on hot. That is what we call capacity. So we need to build capacity. And again, we are seeing the revelation of the retired military intelligence officer who have alleged that there are some people who are bent on Islamizing Nigeria. And according to him, these are people who are sponsoring terrorism. He made it very clear that their ultimate aim is to Islamize Nigeria. And again, at this point, I will encourage the President, Senator Ahmed Bola Tinubu, to summon courage and see how we can restructure this country. Because without restructuring and perhaps having state police, if it is not, he's not allowing people to go their separate ways, I don't think the issue of addressing insecurity will see the light of the day. But as we speak, people no longer sleep with their eyes closed. What hitherto happened in the north is already here with us in the south. Talking about kidnapping, maiming, raping for ransom and all that. We have only seen recently when the immediate past governor of Benue State, talking about autumn, would raise alarm over the attempted assassination of him. And as if that was not enough, a Fulani nationality movement came out to claim responsibility. And according to Autumn, this group claimed that they own Nigeria. According to him, he said he have documents which he have equally submitted to the all level of government and all level of security in this country. We saw the issue of Bokos and Bassa local government area, which the governor of Plateau State, Mufuam, described as genocidal Fulani invasion. We only saw what transpired in Benue, talking about Yewata local area, in Guma local government area of Benue State, where about 250 persons were disallowed just in one night. And as we speak, though the government have said they have made some arrests, they were hoping and believing that prosecution will follow and pronouncement will be made by the court to add a deterrent to others. But if we are not seeing that, honestly, I'm going to tell you that it will embolden other will be bandits, or bandits rather, to do more. Because a monarch in the state, while the president visited, made it very clear, while he was addressing the president, that this has nothing to do with herders, host community clashes, or a prison attack. That is purely genocide in nature. In what looked like towing the line of Mufwang, the governor of Plateau State, he maintained that this is purely genocidal Fulani invasion. And looking from the angle that global terrorism just made it very clear that Fulani military of Nigerian extraction is the fourth most dangerous terrorist organization in the world. So you should now know that when you deal with Fulani military in Nigeria, you are dealing with a formidable force. I've watched a video where the former president of Nigeria, talking about Muhammadu Buhari, of course, the immediate past president of Nigeria, why he had conversation with Donald Trump in Donald Trump's first term, and Donald Trump was asking questions about the Chibok girls, insecurity in Nigeria, kill of Christians. Buhari made it very clear to him then that Nigeria is dealing with some group of people who came out from Libya ravaged environment, and that the only experience they had is how to shoot gun. And these people have gone with them moving around. And the government will always tell us we have porous border. But for me, porous border is not an excuse to police the society, to protect lives and property. Because the constitution is very clear, particularly section 14 of 1999 Constitution as amended. Section 14, subsection 2B of 1999 Constitution amended. Section 14, subsection 2B of 1999 Constitution as amended is very clear. That the welfare of the people and their security shall be the primary purpose of governance. So to that extent, any government that is failing in that cardinal area has failed woefully, because that forms the basis of governance. Thank you very much for your time.